how does the impact of the loss of the ancestral homeland on family lineage show up in your work as a practitioner?
They might come in reporting something to me like, a broken relationship or an illness or trouble with their job or some kind of emotional disturbance. Maybe they're experiencing anxiety or they're experiencing depression. But when it's looked at through the lens of the helping spirits, when I begin the journey for them and I'm asking the helping spirits, show me what you see. And they're really evaluating the situation from their perspective. One of the things that they often evaluate that person's life experience from the perspective that they look at is the loss of sovereignty. How much direction do they have in their life? How much are they living the life that they came here to live? How much ownership or rulership do they have of their lives? A lot of times people are so taxed with the obligations that their job and their family and their lives impose on them. Maybe they're caregivers for their aging parents as well. They are so overtaxed with the obligations and responsibilities that life has placed on them. It's almost like they can never get around to living their own life. And they feel that they've made this series of decisions. They've gone to the right school, they've gotten their degree, they've gotten married, they've gotten a job, they have a house, they have some children, and they look at their life and they look within and they say, why am I not happy? Why do I feel so empty? Why do I feel so lost? Where do I belong? What is my place in the world? What is my role? And when you look at it from that standpoint, that really is the language of a refugee. That's the language of someone who doesn't know what their place is and has lost connection with their destiny. Now, for the ancients, their destiny and their place in the world was directly tied to the land. And so if you reel the tape back and you begin to look at what happened when our ancestors were wrenched away from their ancestral lands, it is not just a matter of the fact that they ended up moving from this geographic place to that geographic place. It is a loss on every single level, on an emotional, psychic, spiritual level as well, because the land gives them everything. They had a deep, deep relationship with the land, and the land provided them with their identity, with meaning for their life, with their destiny and their role, who they were in the tribe, what their contribution was, and they were valued for that. In addition to that, it is the archive. It holds the memory of their tribe. It holds their history, their mythology, their stories, their art. And so when you are, as an individual, wrenched away from those ancestral lands, you really lose everything. And so what we are seeing now, we are only 3 or 4 generations out from the 19th century, when a lot of change began. There was a lot of colonization, a lot of emigration going on in the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries. The 20th century, there were 2 world wars, massive emigration took place. And in the 19th century, a lot of colonization is happening throughout the globe, and people are being moved. That's actually when most of the Native American tribes were moved around, was during the 1800s. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is in the subsequent generations, that trauma is still felt. We may not even be aware of that. We didn't live that trauma. But scientists have now proven and have said that when you inherit your DNA from your ancestors, it's marked with trauma. You're not just inheriting physical traits, like whether your eyes are blue or brown, or whether you're short or tall. You're not just inheriting maybe personality traits. Maybe your mother would say, oh, you're just like your Uncle Joe, you're stubborn like him. Or illnesses. We know that illnesses pass down. People talk about, oh, heart disease runs in my family, or diabetes runs in my family. And also emotional things and mental things. Mental illness runs in families, patterns of suicide, patterns of depression, and we see that. We're aware of that. But in addition to that, what the scientists are now saying, and what they've observed about the DNA, is that the trauma comes too. And obviously, for those people who were wrenched from their ancestral lands in the last couple of centuries in particular, although it's been going on since the beginning of time and it continues to go on today, the trauma that they experienced in their lives certainly was not healed, and certainly was not metabolized by the time they left their life. So it becomes the onus and the work of those who come after to metabolize that. And it's going to show up in your life in some way, shape, or form that you might not even be aware of. And so shamanism is a really good tool in looking through that esoteric lens at bringing some of these things up to the surface and saying, this is why this is. And it's something that I commonly see, especially if there's a family pattern. It will go back through the lines to a point where that lineage broke from their ancestral land and were moved because of war, because of ethnic cleansing, because of religious persecution, and so on.